Cyber Bear coup.
The same branch of the GRU that infiltrated the Democratic National Committee. The GRU forces responsible for these hack and weaponized information operations were later named by their unit numbers in Special Counsel Mueller's July 2018 indictment and have been given many names, including Cyber Berkut, Fancy Bear, and Advanced Persistent Threat.
Fancy Bear.
In the spring of 2014.
Yep, that's the hacker group, the Russian hacker group that I've been fighting since 1998. But I'm sure somebody has it written down somewhere that they didn't exist until after that, even though I know personally I've been fighting them since 1998.
Ukrainian officials fought the change before the results were announced, although it was broadcast on Russian news that the Russian-backed candidate had won, sowing doubt on the validity of the election.
Joey, what's up, Joey?
Magnifying distrust in the Ukrainian government. Seeing as how they couldn't actually change voting tallies and fully get away with it, Russia's tactics evolved to try to change people's minds about who to vote for, or to make the public so distrustful of the system that they don't vote at all. These same units began to steal private information through cyber intrusion on Ukrainian government and political officials and weaponizing it by posting it on the internet. As the Defense Intelligence Agency noted in a Russian official. The third line of effort of the Russian campaign focused on leveraging cyberspace to reinforce and amplify the message out by both the GRU
and the animals' food
organizations. While these efforts were often unsophisticated, this may have been the first time that both organizations embarked on a wide-scale social media campaign to amplify information warfare beyond Russia's borders. The Washington Post reported, based on internal Russian military documents, who fabricated numerous accounts on social media after Ukrainian President Yanukovych fled in 2014. These accounts on Facebook and the Russian version of Facebook, known as VK, posed that ordinary Ukrainians were against the Kyiv protests.
Or the Russian version of Facebook, known as Facebook.
Fear and distrust. One example of a message posted by GRU from a report to the social media account was and hatred. The same GRU unit was also responsible for the creation of the fictitious persona Ivan Galitsky, who played pro-Kremlin
sits under this.
News
it lifts the whole house.
The intercepted Russian military documents also detailed how the GRU created 4 fraudulent groups on Facebook and its Russian equivalent to support its campaign in Crimea, and used paid Facebook ads to increase traffic to their fraudulent sites. Subsequent reporting by the Washington Post uncovered the specific GRU unit 54777. The GRU unit responsible for this operation bragged to their superiors that these 4 groups alone received at least 200,000 views. All of these tactics would appear in later information warfare campaigns. This information warfare campaign against Ukraine.
You know what? You do a better job of taking up the animals better overall.
Social media effort, deploying Kremlin-linked trolls against the population of a foreign country to enhance and amplify the GRU.
I like having you do animal stuff and Trina do house stuff.
Crony, Yevgeny Prigozhin.
Maybe one day you'll have your own farm.
The operation known as the Internet Research Agency and its related company to amplify the Kremlin's messages across social attention from the real events. Copying the model.
And of course, right as they get to the Internet Research Agency,
these fake
it cuts out.
Politically charged messages. BuzzFeed detailed one such scam entitled Polite People, which promoted the invasion of Crimea with pictures of Russian troops posing alongside girls, the elderly, and cats. The trolls used innocuous pictures to gain a group of followers. Then they were easily able to pump out pro-Kremlin messages to ready-made audiences. Although the tactics were relatively simplistic, both for who the Kremlin information warfare campaign appeared largely successful against Ukraine and contributed to the Kremlin. Indeed, General Philip Breedlove of the U.S. European Command, NATO Supreme Allied Commander Europe, warned at the time that Russia was waging the most amazing information warfare blitzkrieg in the history of information warfare. Even as these information operations overwhelmed Ukraine, the potential threat they posed to Western societies was largely unrecognized, and calls for help in combating these types of campaigns, including manipulation of social media, went unanswered. Bush reported last October that high-level Ukrainian officials, including President Poroshenko, personally appealed to Facebook President Mark Zuckerberg in the spring of 2015. One of his deputies stated that they told Facebook, "I was explicitly saying that there are troll factories, that their posts and reposts, promoted posts, and news that are fake. Have a look." Facebook had to take these pleas seriously, and in 2015 declined President Poroshenko's request to open a Facebook office in Kiev to address the problem. In a foreshadowing of events in the United States, Facebook failed for the significant impact that these campaigns could have on Ukrainian politics and security. Our government, too, failed to realize the full extent of the threat. While we have been able to uncover a lot about Russian attacks on Ukraine, we have not been able to piece together the full picture about what Russia perpetrated against the United Kingdom in connection with the spring 2016 referendum on whether the United Kingdom should leave the EU, commonly known as Brexit. And others investigating these attacks have been able to piece together evidence that the Kremlin mounted an information warfare campaign to encourage and amplify anti-EU sentiment in the run-up to the voting day. However, because these investigations are limited to their committees of jurisdiction, and there is no equivalent U.S. Special Counsel's investigation pulling the disparate pieces of information together, we have yet to understand the full picture about what Russia perpetrated against the British people. What we have learned so
Just ask Conway, he knows.
indicates that the Kremlin appears to run a more sophisticated campaign against the British people than the attacks it perpetrated against Ukraine. In this operation, the Kremlin was pushing one side of the argument, as they were in Ukraine, but they showcased increased psychological complexity in its attacks. This campaign focused on targeting segments of the British population that would likely be frightened by threats of increased immigration, particularly from Muslim-majority countries. The Kremlin and Kremlin-linked actors also...
They had been doing the propaganda for years already, before Brexit came out.
...accountability to the people of the United Kingdom, which magnifies the mistrust of the first line of effort for this Kremlin information warfare campaign, and the one that the West has been able to track and analyze, was propaganda and disinformation. The Kremlin unleashed a slew of overt Russian propaganda in English, advanced on TV and the internet by Kremlin-controlled media outlets. The United Kingdom Parliamentary Inquiry on Disinformation cites 261 articles on RT and Sputnik with a heavy anti 6 months prior to the referendum. These outlets advanced a steady drumbeat of stories, stressing the continued dangers as long as the United Kingdom remained part of the EU's so-called open borders. This included disinformation intended to magnify the legend that British women would be subject to increased attacks from dangerous Muslim immigrants. It is yet to be determined whether the second line of effort, covert GRU operations in cyberspace, was deployed as part of the Russian campaign promoting Brexit. It does not appear that hacking and weaponizing of stolen data was deployed in connection with Brexit. However, as this crude information warfare tactic has been tied to GRU
once again,
particularly
when it talks about Russian hacking, Google fucking freezes a screen.
To other cyber attacks, including attacks on United Kingdom television stations and the United Kingdom.
They were talking about how there was a denial of service attack, voter registry for Brexit.
The third line of effort, the use of cyberspace
The night before it was due.
Messaging featured prominently in the information warfare campaign related to Brexit. While we don't know what role, if any, the GRU played in this line of effort, we have been able to identify a sustained campaign on social media against the British public by Kremlin and Kremlin-linked actors. These attacks included the use of trolls and automated bots amplifying pro-leave messages ahead of the date of the referendum. The New York Times reported that tweets from the Russian accounts sought to inflame fears about Muslims and immigrants to help drive the vote. Tweets surged in the last days of the campaign, spiking from about 1,000 tweets a day to 45,000 tweets in the 48 hours prior to the polls. In the final days before the referendum, less than 1% of Twitter users accounted for 1/3 of all the conversations surrounding the issue, showing that these actions were artificially boosting the pro-leave messages to increase viewership size. Joint analysis from Swansea University and the University of California, Berkeley concluded the attack emanated from 150,000 Russian-based accounts and that their tweets were viewed hundreds of millions of times. It must be noted that Russian amplification efforts in connection with Brexit also received a boost from local surrogates in the UK. One pro-leave local surrogate was Nigel Farage, the leader of the right-wing populist UKIP party. Whether unwitting or not, Farage echoed aspects of Russian propaganda, including lending his voice to stories broadcast on Russian propaganda channel RT. Farage was also often quoted in Russian media articles, including when he warned that British women could be at risk of mass attacks by gangs of migrants due to big cultural issues, should Britain choose to remain in the EU. Again, echoing the message agents and authorities were promoting. Here, too, it seems, we have just begun to scratch the surface of our understanding about what the Kremlin was doing, including how they had insight into who to target with their information warfare campaign. Member of Parliament Damian Collins, who is leading an investigation into Russian disinformation connected to Brexit, fears that what we know at this point about the extent of the Russian attack against the British people, quote, may well be just the tip of the iceberg. We can't point with all certitude to whether the Kremlin's information warfare campaign made the difference in the outcome of the vote. However, we know that those who voted to leave the EU won by a small margin. It was a stunt expected, let alone then Prime Minister Cameron. He cited the outcome as the reason for his resignation. The Kremlin has also turned these weapons on the United States. The most prominent example was the sustained...
That's real. That's the truth. That's how it fucking happened. The Russians did Brexit.
American people, as I've stated during the 2016
Period.
presidential election. While the Kremlin's disinformation warfare campaign against Ukraine and Brexit supported and amplified one side of the issue, for this operation, Russia showed increased technical and psychological advances by targeting multiple aspects of contentious issues to advance the Kremlin's objectives. Grievances about race, immigration, social justice, and even U.S. institutions writ large were woven into its anti-Clinton, pro-Trump fabric. These efforts were a toxic mix trying to poison Clinton's candidacy, remotely taint the electoral process, and weaken democratic institutions altogether. Similar to the information warfare campaign against Brexit, we're still trying to get a full picture of how Russia attacked us during the 2016 election, and particularly the role that the GRU played. But what is now clear is that the Kremlin's information warfare campaign regarding the 2016 election was not neutral or even-handed in its messaging on Clinton compared to that of President Trump. As affirmed in the intelligence community's January 2017 assessment, in their words, Putin ordered an influence campaign in 2016 aimed at the U.S. presidential election, the consistent goals of which were to undermine public faith in the U.S. democratic process, denigrate Secretary Clinton, and harm electability and potential presidency. They also assessed that, in their words, Putin and the Russian government developed a clear preference. Finally, Director Mueller's February indictment against the Kremlin-linked troll operation found that the Russians, quote, engaged in operations primarily intended to communicate derogatory information about Hillary Clinton, to denigrate other candidates such as Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, and support Bernie Sanders and the candidate Donald Trump. The clear anti-Clinton and pro-Trump themes in Russia's efforts aligned with Russia's strategic interests. As mentioned earlier, Putin blamed Hillary Clinton for protest in Russia in December 2011, weakening Clinton as a candidate who reduced the perceived threat to Putin's grip on power from a Clinton presidency. President Trump, on the other hand, offered Russia a free hand in conducting its affairs. And similar to Brexit, the Russian information warfare campaign against the American people in 2016 demonstrated a high degree of sophistication in targeting susceptible groups of Americans, potentially including the use of data analytics. We are still learning details of how the Russians were able to build an audience for its information warfare attacks, and whether they had any help from any Americans. However, Justice Department indictments, including those from the Special Counsel, and 2 reports commissioned by the Senate Intelligence Committee analyzing data provided by social media companies, are providing a better picture of the information warfare campaigns against us. One of those reports, a joint study by Oxford University and the social media analytics firm Graphica, assessed that the Kremlin-linked troll organization was able to segment users into different groups based on race, ethnicity, and identity. Once they categorized people in such a manner, they tailored ads to entice users to engage with their fraudulent accounts and pages. This process engineered messages to manipulate and polarize receptive audiences. The other study, commissioned by the Senate Intelligence Committee, a collaboration between the social media research firm New Knowledge, Columbia University, and Canfield Research, confirms this idea, detailing how racial groups were targeted. Their analysis concluded these operations were directed overwhelmingly at African Americans. As Washington Post technology reporter Craig Timberg explained, social media companies created this technology, and the process have atomized us into different categories and put us into 1,000 different buckets. The Russians co-opted this American technology, just as they have exploited other aspects of our open society and democratic system and weaponized it against us. And similar to campaigns in the past, this information warfare operation follow the 3 established lines of effort as detailed in the intelligence community's January 2017 assessment. The Kremlin's campaign followed a long-standing Russian messaging strategy that blends covert intelligence operations, such as cyber activity, with overt efforts by Russian government agencies, state-funded media, third-party intermediaries, and paid social media users or trolls. The first line of effort involves overt propaganda and disinformation, focusing on a number of themes that advance Russia's strategic interests. Having tested the methodology in Ukraine and Brexit, the Russians had an arsenal of tried and tested methods of influence that they deployed in the U.S. presidential election to maximize fear and distrust. Propaganda and disinformation to stoke these negative emotions were pumped out by Kremlin-funded channels RT and Sputnik. They sought to flood an unsuspecting American public with stories portraying Secretary Clinton as untrustworthy and dangerous, thus amplifying negative feelings towards her. Articles painted Clinton as a warmonger who would lead the United States into future conflict, or alleged that she was in ill health and hiding her condition from the public. Additional reports were aimed at bolstering the perceptions that she was not trustworthy and accused her of nefarious dealings detailed in the email she deleted as a cover-up for her so-called crimes. A third group of accounts alleged that Clinton used her high-ranking position as Secretary of State to enrich her family, foundation, with foreign donations by engaging in quid pro quo fees.
And it was all bullshit.
Kremlin-funded media pushed positive stories about President Trump, promoting him as a pragmatist who understood the United States needed to stop interfering in the internal affairs of other countries. An additional widely used theme, which sought to maximize feelings of distrust and ran through much of what Kremlin media broadcast, revolved around corrupting the United States, American hypocrisy, and that elections were rigged and fraudulent, painting the American political system as unfair, biased, and tainted served Putin's strategic interests, allowing the Kremlin to counter pro-democracy forces within, asserting a moral equivalence between a flawed American democratic system and his autocratic rule in Russia. The second line of effort in the information warfare playbook, covert Russian operations in cyberspace, repeated tactics used against Ukraine with greater sophistication. In particular, the Kremlin and Kremlin-linked actors engaged in hacking and weaponizing the release of stolen data. From what our intelligence community and FBI have compiled, it appears that the GRU undertook the largest share of this aspect of the information warfare campaign, with complementary efforts undertaken by the FSB. The indictment for July 2018 detailed how the GRU, quote, intentionally conspired to gain unauthorized access into the computers of U.S. persons and entities involved in the 2016 election, steal documents from those computers, and stage releases of stolen documents to interfere with the 2016 U.S. presidential election. As two of the main targets of this operation were the DNC and Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta. Press reports indicate that approximately 50,000 emails and documents were stolen. Once in possession of these stolen documents, the GRU repeated its playbook from earlier campaigns. It sought to weaponize the hacked information by releasing it in a manner and at key times when it could cause the most damage, while concealing Russia's role in the process. As the Mueller indictment against the GRU describes, they did so using fictitious online personas, including DC Leaks and Guccifer 2.0. The Mueller indictment from last July further details the GRU's use of fake persona, Guccifer 2.0, which the GRU falsely claimed.
Alex Jones, InfoWars, was there to coordinate the release and the promotion of it all,
Was active in promoting so-called
including helping them with their Google Analytics.
Way to launder to third parties, including journalists,
The Russians.
traditional media outlets. The GRU's code advantage of willing WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks had an established reputation of spilling state secrets, including those of the United
It's
States.
funny how even though
WikiLeaks
lots and lots of people knew that the Russians were on the march, Google just kept on making it easier for them with their algorithm. It's like they set it up just in time.
2.0, quote, discussed the release of the stolen documents and the timing of those releases with WikiLeaks to heighten their impact on the 2016 presidential election. WikiLeaks released the stolen documents during the Democratic National Convention to cause conflict between Clinton and Sanders supporters at a time when many Americans were very likely to be paying attention. WikiLeaks also released documents in the last few weeks of the election, again when the nation was very likely to be following the campaigns. The first release of stolen emails campaign chairman John Podesta coincided with a warning from the Department of Homeland Security and Office of the Director of National Intelligence in October 2016 about Russian attacks against our election. It also occurred on the same day as the release of the Trump Access Hollywood. These efforts, too, suggest a higher level of sophistication than had been seen in earlier Russian influence campaigns. The third component of the Russian information warfare campaign, message amplification and reinforcement through social media, was deployed in parallel with the other lines of effort to achieve an unprecedented impact. While we don't know the full extent of the GRU's involvement, the Mueller indictment revealed that an entire military intelligence unit, 74455, was active in this line of effort. In his July 2018 indictment, the special counsel explained that Unit 74455 assisted in the promotion of the released stolen material and the publication of anti-Clinton content on social media accounts operated by the GRU. That includes the site DC Leaks, which was in fact established by the GRU. It went live in early June 2016.
Oh, y'all did a Who Is search too.
By American traffic to the site. The July indictment further details that the GRU used additional fake accounts posing as Americans named Jason Scott and Richard Gingray to promote the DC Leaks site. Before we shut down in March of 2017, the DC Leaks site was viewed over 1 million times. The GRU also used social media to magnify fears about Hillary Clinton. The July indictment from the special counsel revealed that the GRU was the true operator by the fraudulent Twitter account @BaltimoreIsWar, which encouraged U.S. audiences to join our flash mob opposing Clinton and share images with the hashtag #BlacksAgainstHillary. In addition to the GRU weaponizing social media against the United States, It was a complementary effort from the Kremlin troll organization, the Internet Research Agency. By the 2016 U.S. presidential election, the deployment of the troll organization appeared to be a standard part of the Kremlin's playbook. The October 2018 indictment of the Internet Research Agency's account in the Eastern District of Virginia provides additional information of the troll organization's role in the information. The indictment confirms the existence of the agency's Project Lockdown since at least May of 2014, and notes that this project targeted Ukraine, Europe, and the United States, with its stated goal in the U.S. to spread distrust toward candidates for political office and the political system in general. Social media researchers, including P.W. Singer, have also noted how some of the same trolls were repurposed for different operations. The accounts who pretended to be Ukrainian then posed as British citizens and then Americans as the focus of attacks shifted over time. Against the United States, the troll operation capitalized on issues of importance to groups inside American society to magnify fear and distrust in ways that align with the Kremlin's strategic interest of hurting Clinton and helping President Trump. As the special counsel's February indictment details,
Stop calling him president.
Which address divisive U.S. political and social issues, falsely claimed to be controlled by
anything you're saying is true.
In fact, they were controlled by Kremlin-linked trolls. The indictment further asserted
and all of it is,
which the troll organization reached significant numbers of Americans for the purpose of influence the presidential election of 2016. The report prepared for the Senate Intelligence Committee by New Knowledge, Columbia, and Canfield, analyzing certain data from social media companies, identifies a number of tactics employed by the Internet Research Agency in its assault on the 2016 elections. These include building brands across platforms including Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, deploying or repurposing popular memes to spread propaganda, reinforcing
memes, really?
The same story across multiple accounts, and impersonating local media on Twitter.
Would your daughter write this speech?
Trust Americans in their local news, and amplifying conspiratorial narratives among both left and right-leaning audiences. As I mentioned, the report found that one of the troll organizations' concerted lines of attack was against African Americans. These efforts, however, went beyond just trying to sow discord and reinforce fears about Clinton. Campaigns against African American groups were pushed across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, with the goal of suppressing voter turnout through malicious misdirection, candidate support redirection, and turnout depression. Kathleen Hall Jamieson, a scholar who studies political campaigns, examined polling data throughout the campaign and documented similar tactics at disenfranchisement in her recent book, including fake ads that encourage minority youth to text or tweet their support.
Dude, Google disabled you from being able to search for Hillary Clinton's fucking YouTube channel.
Candidates in the race.
For fuck's sake.
These efforts may have been particularly effective in peeling off voters that would have been likely to vote for her candidacy. They
should have recommended it to everyone.
At a key time.
Huh.
Polls in the final month of the campaign showed a marked drop.
Everybody in the country should have had Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton both have their fucking YouTube channels recommended to them. Everybody.
That Twitter was an important component of the attacks Kremlin-linked troll organizations deployed against the American people. The nearly 4,000 inauthentic Russian Twitter accounts, like their Facebook counterparts,
oh, there was so much more than 4,000.
Social issues such as gun control, racial racism.
You're just talking about the active ones.
The troll organization also deployed bots or automated accounts to amplify messages and drive specific Facebook pages, Kremlin propaganda sites, or other targeted websites. The Kremlin-linked troll operation went into overdrive on election day with strategic messaging, which mimicked the spike in activity on Twitter during the Brexit referendum. According to the Daily Beast, Kremlin-linked trolls used a combination of high-profile accounts, large and influential following, and scores of lurking personas established years earlier with stolen photos and fabricated backgrounds to send carefully metered tweets and retweets voicing praise for Trump and contempt for his opponent from the early morning until the last polls closed in the United States. And as the recent studies commissioned by the Senate Intelligence Committee illuminate, the information war American people was an extensive, widespread, coordinated effort across many social media platforms, both big and small. The increased sophistication of the troll organization techniques on social media provided a relatively low-cost but highly effective method of influencing the American public. For example, these trolls spent only $100,000 on 3,000 ads on Facebook. While this may seem like a small amount compared to the millions of dollars spent on the presidential campaign, the impact and reach of these Kremlin ads, once amplified through these Russian operations, was extensive. While Facebook estimates that approximately 126 million Americans saw Kremlin-linked messages, Jonathan Albright, the research director for Columbia University's Tao Center for Digital Journalism, extrapolated they could have been shared hundreds of millions or perhaps many billions of times. Kathleen Hall Jamieson concluded that the widespread reach of the troll organization's disinformation increased the likelihood that Russian activities changed the outcome of the election. A study from the Ohio State University on propaganda and disinformation affirmed Hall Jamieson's assessment and concluded Russian information warfare attacks most likely did have substantial impact on the voting decisions of a strategically important set of voters, those who voted for Barack Obama in 2012. Indeed, given the very narrow margin of victory in key battleground states, this impact may have been sufficient to deprive Hillary Clinton of the victory in the Electoral College. That's their conclusion. As with the Brexit campaign, the Russian information warfare campaign during the 2016 election was aided by others who either wittingly or unwittingly helped to advance Russian strategic objectives. Among these were major American news outlets, which covered much of what was in the WikiLeaks disclosures, treating it as legitimate of how the information was obtained or that it was being pushed by a foreign adversary. Thomas Ribb, professor of security studies at King's College, testified to the Senate Intelligence Committee in March of 2017 that the journalists function as unwitting agents who aggressively cover the political leaks while neglecting or ignoring their provenance. Whereas Kathleen Holt Jamieson concludes the American media inadvertently helped the Russians achieve their goals. Further, as in the Brexit campaign, a number of local surrogates appeared to echo the Kremlin message. This included associates of the Trump campaign and even the president himself. He boasted of his love of access to stolen disclosures of WikiLeaks. And according to the Washington Post, at least 5 close Trump associates, albeit perhaps unknowingly, retweeted messages from Kremlin-linked troll accounts, including the account @10GOP, a Russian fake handle that impersonated the Tennessee Republican Party. The president of the campaign also used talking points, similar Russian propaganda and disinformation, including disparaging Secretary Clinton's health and accusing her repeatedly of being crooked. The president encouraged Russia, in many respects, to continue these activities. And from what we now know from the July indictment from the special counsel, the night that Trump called in Russia to hacker emails, the GRU did in fact attack the server that housed Clinton's personal emails accounts. As journalist and legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin characterized it, all of these separate Russian efforts are completely aligned with Donald Trump's interest, often word for word. Some have argued that despite this intensive and sophisticated Russian influence campaign, there was no effect on the outcome of the election, because no vote tallies were changed. While we may never know definitively what the actual impact of the Kremlin's operation was, it is hard to believe the Kremlin would mount a sustained, multi-year information warfare campaign against our democratic institutions if they had no reason to expect that it would have an impact. To the contrary, based on their experience in Ukraine, Brexit, and elsewhere, the Kremlin had every reason to believe they could successfully influence the outcome.
If you want to talk about whether or not any votes were actually changed, you might as well be a fucking Russian agent. Fuck you.
As I've laid out, Russia is engaged in a sustained information warfare campaign against the United States, our allies and partners. This Russian interference
On a legalistic break with reality because you're too afraid to face the fucking reality of the situation.
Last July, the Russian effort to influence the 2016 presidential election is...
That's where most people are at right about now, which is fucking sad.
Russian intelligence officers did not stumble onto the idea of hacking American computers and posting misleading messages because they had a free afternoon. It is what they do every day. Our Intelligence Committee assessed in January 2017 that the campaign against us represented a new normal in Russian influence efforts in which Moscow will apply lessons learned from its campaign aimed at the U.S. presidential election to future influence efforts in the U.S. and worldwide. Russian information warfare operations have a real and ongoing impact on our national security. Russia has not paused its information warfare operations since the 2016 election, and in fact, the level of Russian operations has increased since then. John Kelly, the founder of Graphica, a social media intelligence firm, testified to the Senate Intelligence Committee in August, and who collaborated on one of the reports for the Senate Intelligence Committee I discussed earlier, stated, after Election Day, the Russian government stepped on the gas, confirming again that the assault on our democratic process is much bigger than the attack on a single election. This idea was confirmed by data in both his report and other reports commissioned by the Senate Intelligence Committee on the Kremlin-linked troll organization. The report done by New Knowledge, Columbia University, and Canfield Research noted that the Kremlin-linked troll organization went after those who are investigating Russian information warfare and other malign influence activities in the United States, including attempts to label Russian interference in the election as nonsense, and casted former FBI Director James Comey and Special Counsel Mueller as corrupt. We don't have to look too far for other examples of Russia's ongoing campaign against the American people and our allies and partners. Kremlin-linked troll operations flooded Twitter with messages intended to sow division and disinformation in the wake of numerous controversies, including tragic shootings in Las Vegas and Parkland, Florida, and during the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. Last September, we learned through an indictment in the Western District of Pennsylvania that GRU officers, including some agents previously indicted by Special Counsel Mueller, attempted information attacks against prominent world organizations, including those who are investigating Russian malign influence activities. It's now clear that Russian information operations also targeted the 2018 midterm elections. The October indictment for the Eastern District of Virginia details an ongoing and advanced operation to influence the American electorate up through 2018. As the indictment states, this campaign has a strategic goal, which continues to this day, to sow division and discord in the U.S. political system. The indictment also details how Russian troll operations are using U.S.-based virtual private networks, or VPNs, paid for with Bitcoin through multiple bank accounts to disguise the origin of Russian messaging on social media. The sophistication of these operations continues to increase. The Internet Research Agency has a dedicated search engine optimization department, which is devoted to manipulating social media search algorithms to advance the goals of Russian troll operations. The troll organization spent millions of dollars annually in 2017 and 2018 on still buying ads on Facebook and Instagram. These operations continue to cover a broad range of divisive issues, and as the indictment details, the organization's employees are instructed on strategies and guidance for targeting particular audiences with carefully tailored messages. And despite efforts by Facebook and Twitter to eliminate inauthentic accounts, there are still thousands of active social media and email accounts appearing to be U.S. persons when they are in fact Kremlin trolls acting as a part of an information warfare campaign. Last February, in testimony before the Armed Services Cyber Subcommittee, Russia expert Heather Conley warned that Russian information warfare campaigns in 2018 and 2020 will adapt and look more American, and it will look less Russian. The New Knowledge, Columbia University, and Canfield Research Study notes that we need to be on the lookout for increasingly sophisticated operations, including increased human exploitation tradecraft and narrative laundering. Already the technology exists to create deep fakes, false videos of real people saying or doing things that are damaging. Advances in artificial intelligence are enabling rapid automated response on social media that mimic authentic accounts. We are still gathering data about information warfare attacks, including during the 2018 midterms. Between the indictments I referenced and the additional Kremlin-directed troll operation discovered by Facebook in conjunction with our intelligence community, the FBI, and DHS, we seem to be getting better at responding to the types of attacks perpetrated against the U.S. in 2016. But that is no indicator we've become better at anticipating future attacks. The director of the Department of Homeland Security, Cyber Security and Infrastructure Security Agency warned last November that the 2018 midterm is just the warm-up for the exhibition game. The big game for adversaries is probably 2020. I want to thank my colleagues for being generous and patient with my presentation. But I do want to make I think an important concluding point that ties in directly to what is going on right now. We've been talking about this shutdown. After I've described the activities that has transpired over the last 5 to 10 years, we should be aware that they're continuing. And the consequences of this shutdown are more than theoretical. We are missing some of our most critical tools for countering Russia.
We are doing what Russia wants us to do, thanks to the Russian agent.
As Andrew Grotto, a former cybersecurity
How fucking clueless can you people be?
Trump and Obama stated, defending federal networks is already an act of triage. Furloughs make a hard job even harder. And while they exploit DA
I'm telling you.
reorganizing
Holy
into
shit.
cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency, they have since had to furlough 43% of their employees. That's over 1,500 workers who are right now unable to fulfill.
Fighting a mercenary army without the ability to bribe anyone. Really? What the fuck? They cut it off. $2 a.m. on a weeknight thing. Hopefully that was just a second airing or something. But otherwise, there's a fucking Russian agent at the programming center sitting there trying to cover his own ass by saying, "Oh, I put this on. Why would I have put this on if I was a Russian agent?" But he put it on at 2 a.m. because he's a Russian agent. So that was fucking fascinating. It's nice to know that, somebody is at least able to tell the story in a kind of coherent way. Oh boy. Tell you what though. Maybe we're going about this the wrong way. Did you see the dingo? I missed that big chat. Hey now. Don't be saying Americans like that. Although we might get better search results from Google. Yeah, Americans all lie, their feet smell, and they don't love Jesus. Coffee, fuffy, fuffy. Right? That'd be a good experiment. Let's just do nothing but talking shit about America. And talk about how the Mueller probe is fake news. You know what I want to know? Is why are there never any C-SPAN live streams? You know? You know? Like, okay. There's a disabled guy in Louisiana who can barely afford to fucking change his water on his fish tanks. And he manages to live stream every day. Why no Candy Senate do? I know, like, I'm subscribed to C-SPAN. It has a YouTube channel. Why does it never? And all I'm saying is basically, one would think that if YouTube have internet access, they, you know, a couple of them might have cell phones and shit. Let's see what they've managed to actually take it upon themselves to live stream. Let's see if that tells us anything. Oh. We had the vice presidential debate. That's it. Can't go any further. We had the second presidential debate. And we had, what is Aleppo? Then we had, I'm not a communist. I'm just here to help. And then we had the third presidential stocking fest. Correspondents Association dinner. So these are things where somebody in the government, somebody like managing shit, said, hey, are we going to stream this on YouTube? How are we going to do that? Hey, we'll use C-SPAN. You know, this is where C-SPAN was used to stream something. But I see no reason why C-SPAN shouldn't be streaming every day and bringing in a tremendous amount of money in ad revenue. Helping pay for the United States government. Help lower our taxes. YouTube, somebody, if they were just loyal, if just one YouTube employee happened to not be a fucking traitor to this country, just a single one, it might have occurred to them that they could lower their very own fucking taxes by emailing C-SPAN sometime in the past 15 years. Can you tell why you should fear for your life if you're a fucking Google employee? Oh, I smell you. Smells like chicken. I've got a long memory for things like revenge and the taste of human flesh. Anyways, on that bombshell, I think that's my wife pulling up. I'm gonna go ahead and holler at y'all later. Until then, next time, y'all take it easy, don't take it all. And tune in here again at the same bat time and same bat channel or something. And we'll have some bat